Welcome, everyone, to the Sterling Insights podcast. We are lucky today to have Daniel Alonzo. Daniel is an entrepreneur, an author, and the host of the Wealth on the Beach podcast. He built financial independence by age 28 and then scaled a business that now runs without him. So, for over 20 years, he's coached advisors and business leaders on creating passive income and building systems that lead to real freedom. Daniel, welcome to Sterling Insights.
What's up? How are you, Katherine? Great to be here. Excited about our conversation. And yeah.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So, you started in financial services, as I understand, around age 21. And I'm curious to know what that looked like and how did you evolve from traditional sales into building a business that runs without you?
So I was 21, got in business, didn't know anything about anything. I just wanted to be somebody. I just wanted to do something great with my life. And, but I also thought about the future. And there was just something, there was a drive inside of me that said, retire by 30. I just wanted to be done by 30. I just had like something that was just inside of me that just said, you want to be financially independent. I was kind of thinking about my future kids, thinking about my future family, thinking about the future. And so before my kids were even born, I was thinking about, okay, I want to be the dad that can play with them all the time and go on great vacations and live in the house on the hill and things like that. So I said to myself, wait a minute, why not go build a business instead of just selling, which, mostly everybody just sells. They sell to survive. And I thought, I'm going to recruit so that I can retire. And that's exactly what I did. So at 21, I became an obsessed recruiter where people were like, oh my God, Daniel's coming down the street. He's going to try to recruit us, man. He's trying to get us in this thing that he's doing. And so I said, I don't care. I'm doing it. I'm going to build something that one day will run on its own. And, we've put $11 billion in force in life insurance, over $500 million in assets under management. We paid out over $200 million in claims. Just my little team, not the corporation, but just my team pays out over $6 million a year in commissions. So I'm proud of that. We're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. And how did you choose financial services as an industry? People don't necessarily graduate and figure, oh, that's my dream job. Sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. How did
Well,
you
it,
discover
it,
it?
it was by accident. I mean, it was a buddy of mine. His name was Pablo. And Pablo said, hey, man, you got to go get your insurance and investment licenses. And I said, okay, I'll try. I resisted for a little while, but eventually I'm like, wait a minute. Financial services is like one of the biggest industries in the world. I mean, people get paid a lot of money to be in financial services. And I said, well, I'm going to college, I'm playing baseball. And then I hurt my knee real bad. But so I was done with college because the only reason why I was going to college was to play baseball. And so I left college. I was basically a loser at home doing nothing, hanging out with the wrong crowd, didn't want to go to college. I was a little bit of a bad boy growing up, and I just, I never liked school. I never liked authority. I was made to be an entrepreneur. I'm a risk taker. I just do it. And then I shoot and then I aim later. And I just figured it was a big industry. Nobody's ever going to run out of needing life insurance and investments. It'll always be a product that's sold to the consumer. And I just thought, man, I can do this.
Nice. So tell me a bit about the process of building the business. What were some of the big challenges? How did you navigate those?
So, as far as the challenges, I mean, I think one of the main obvious challenges that I had is that I was young. I started at 21.
Yeah.
And I looked 16. And so nobody wanted to listen to me. Nobody wanted to take advice from me. Everybody thought, that I should just go back to school and get a good job and get a pension and a 401k. And I just, so I had to overcome that. And I really overcame that by mastering my craft. I became obsessed with reading books, listening to audio cassette tapes, watching VHS, video cassettes. Absolutely. And so I am, yeah, no, I'm proud of that, because I did it when I had to look in a Thomas guide. You probably don't even know what a Thomas guide is, but it used to, that's how you got around. That was our maps. So I'd have to drive
Okay.
with my maps in my car, and I had to carry change with me everywhere you go, because you sometimes would have to go to the payphone and I would have a beeper that was like melted to my side. And we barely were getting cell phones. Not even really in the beginning, I didn't have cell phones, but like maybe 5 years later, we started getting cell phones and smartphones and things like that. But yeah, it was, I started in 1996. So I've been doing this for 30 years. It's been an amazing ride. I don't regret 1 second of my career in financial services. One of the awesome things about being in the type of business that I'm in is that I was able to build teams. And when you
Yeah.
build teams, you got to get to know people. You got to build relationships with people. And so, I tell people now, I'm financially free. I've been financially free for 20 something years. But I'll tell you, the most fun time of my life was when I was building my business. Today is complete freedom. I wake up every single day like I'm on vacation. I do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. But back then, it was like I was grinding every day, and I was going to sit down with clients personally. It wasn't on Zoom. We do Zooms a lot now. And I was sitting there, I drive an hour, and sometimes they wouldn't show up. But yeah, I mastered my craft, man. I read every book on finance. I watched every video that I could watch. And then I went to meetings. I never missed a meeting for 20 years. So I figured that
Wow.
if I knew my shit, nobody could beat me. And, if I'm sitting down with a client or I'm sitting down with whoever, I'm really happy that I did that. I didn't cut any corners when it came to really knowing my numbers and knowing what I was trying to accomplish and what I was trying to do.
Yeah, no, I think you've touched on two really important points there. One is knowing what you're talking about, developing competence, developing expertise. Another is the relationships and the network. And I'm wondering if you've ever had a time in your practice when you really did know what you were doing, but you didn't know the right people. And so it was hard to convince people that you actually did know what you were doing.
Yeah, look, I think that it's amazing how your friends and your family, they don't believe anything you say, even though they're not financially independent. They've had no training, they have no skill mastery, but yet they seem like they know what they're talking about. They seem like they know. And so for me, it was a little bit comical. And that's why I think I radiated so much confidence, is because I studied so hard. So it's kind of like if I was a doctor and my uncle is trying to give me medical advice, and he'd never been to one class in medical school. And
Yeah.
I just figured I'm going to go prospect every day. I saw some of my friends and family in the beginning. I did have people that did believe in me. But after that, 5 or 10 people, I just went out in the real world and I started prospecting like my life depended on it, because it did. And I prospected every day and I talked to everybody that I could possibly talk to. I wanted to recruit you, because if I could recruit you, I could train you, develop you, help you become successful. And again, that was me being one step closer to financial freedom in my mind, because my goal was to have thousands and thousands of agents. And so
Yeah.
every single day I had to recruit so that I could continue to grow that agency, and of course stabilize my passive income.
Yeah, yeah. That's really cool because it sounds like you've built a business that required you to develop deep expertise and develop really strong management skills to be managing hundreds or at some point thousands of people. Yeah.
Yeah, leadership is everything. I mean, if you don't know how to lead people, you're never going to get free. And it's kind of sad to me. I see a lot of these managers and a lot of these leaders in society at different companies. And it's kind of sad to me because I watch them and I go, man, they're a good leader. There are people like them. They're able to get along with everybody. Like they're just good at building relationships. And it's sad to me that they're not making hundreds and hundreds, if not millions of dollars per year, because that is what I believe they should be earning. And they're not in a lot of cases. So because they're working for corporate America. And to me, corporate America is a nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people might say that. So what's the core revenue model behind your business? Is it coaching? Is it something else?
So yeah, the core, a lot of people, they think that I'm just trying to recruit people for some other nefarious reason.
Ponzi
Don't know.
scheme. Just
Exactly.
kidding.
Pyramid, scheme, scam, whatever you call it. Well, it's interesting because if anybody would take the time to investigate or take the time to learn exactly the monetization model that I run, how it works, they would be blown away. They would say, that's freaking genius. Okay. That's what they would say. They'd say, that's genius. Okay. So, because I don't make money to recruit anybody. I make money if those recruits become successful. So I always tell people it's just like real estate. It's no different than real estate. And by the way, if you're in traditional financial planning services, or you work for Morgan Stanley or something like that, the corporation makes a lot of money every time those agents make a sale. So same thing here. If I have 1,000 agents and those agents write sales, they make a lot of money. They make the majority of the money, but I also earn what's called an override or a bonus. That's what I earn. So there's no difference. If I'm a real estate broker, I'm the one with the office. I'm the one that's supplying the leadership and the motivation and the skills and teaching and all that kind of stuff. But I don't charge people for my coaching. I do have a Wealth on the Beach club that there are people that like to hang out with me on Zoom every week, and they do pay a little bit to do that. But that's not a part of my business. That's completely separate. My business model that helped me become wealthy. And by the way, I'm not getting wealthy doing coaching programs. I'm getting wealthy because we're recruiting a couple hundred people every single month. And those people go out and write sales. Those people go out and help families set up their investment programs and things like that. So we make money from product sales only. Somebody pays me,
Okay.
to join my business. I make $0 for them to do that.
Wow. That is an impressive business model because it sounds like you just get to manage kind of everyone, which must take time and effort, but not 24/7 time and effort.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the beginning years, you spend a lot of time in the business, and the
Mm-hmm.
amount of return of money is not as exciting as it is later on. So I always tell people it's like putting money in a mutual fund. You put money in it, you're like, okay, I'm going to do $100 a month. And then at the end of the year, you're like, okay, I got $1,200. Maybe a little bit of interest is like, I got $1,230 or something like that. And you're like, man, I waited a whole year. That sucks, man. That's not exciting. You're just trying to get the thing to compound, right? And once the thing grows to 10 grand, then it turns to 20 and then 40 and then 180 and then 160. And it just keeps going from there. Same thing with the business. In the beginning of any business, by the way, you're paid less than probably what you deserve because you're putting in way more hours. So then,
Yeah.
then you look at your hourly wage and you're like, I made 13 cents an hour, last year. And so that's not exciting. But for me, I only made 15,000 my first year. And I think I worked pretty hard. So it was very, kind of disappointing a little bit for me. But I said, wait a minute. I said, this is where everybody quits. This is when people give up. And I said, I ain't giving up. And I also kind of tried to angle it in my mind with the fact that doctors go to school for 10 years. They're studying for 10 years. So if they're studying for 10 years, how much money do they make every single year that they're in school? They're not making money. They're actually losing money. And then they got to after 10 years make up all of that money. So for me, at least, I was profitable by 15 grand that first year. I was actually pretty happy. A lot of companies aren't profitable for 5 years, 10 years. I don't know. I think Amazon took them, 20 years to get profitable. So I was profitable the first year. And then from there, I just kept growing and growing and growing. And all the while, I'm recruiting, I'm training, I'm developing. So in the beginning, you get paid less than what you're worth. In later on, you get paid more than what you're worth, because I'm paid so much money today without having to work. It's kind of ridiculous.
That's cool though. I mean, it sounds like all the hard work at the beginning really paid off. You kind of talked about a little bit of mindset shifts that went on there. Thinking about how doctors have to wait to make money, thinking about profitability in a new way. Are there any other major mindset shifts that you had to make over the course of your career and that you think other people should be considering making?
Well, I think the number one mindset shift is, without a doubt, you got to stop worrying about what other people think about you,
Mm.
because it's human nature. I mean, we're born with worrying about what people think about us. But the truth is, and kind of the exciting part about, life and about building a business and becoming successful, I mean, you get kind of a superpower. You get like an advantage over the world when you shift your mindset to the place where you just don't give a shit what anybody thinks about you. You know what your mission is. You know what you're trying to do. You know what you're trying to accomplish. So who cares what anybody thinks? Unless you're paying my bills, I don't care what you think. And that was the biggest mind shift that I had to make, because I was young. And when we're young, especially, man, we're always worried. I remember when I was like 16 years old and I went to a funeral. A friend of mine passed away and I
Mm.
was freaking out because I didn't have the right shoes. Are you effing kidding me? I didn't, like, somebody died. And that's how much I was worrying about what people were. I was thinking in my mind that people were going to be looking at my shoes when nobody cared about my shoes. I don't even remember what the shoes were, what they looked like after all these years. But how ridiculous. We are making so many decisions every single day based on the perception of someone else
Mm-hmm.
versus just trusting our instinct and saying, wait a minute, I'm a good person. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm prospecting this person because I think that maybe they can do it. Now, they'll always have the last decision. They can do whatever they want to do. I don't care, but I'm still going to ask and I'm still going to follow up, and I'm going to follow up until they buy or they die. And until they tell me, Daniel, leave me alone, I'm going to keep following up. And so I didn't stop. And then, sometimes I would tell people, hey, look, I'm going to follow up with you. Do you mind if I called you back in 3 months or something like that? Yeah, sure. Call me back in 3 months. Cool. Nope, no problem. But I'm going to keep, if I believe in somebody, if I believe that I could assist somebody to have a little bit of a better life, I'm going to do whatever is in my power to help them, get to that, to that goal.
That makes sense. And seeing it sort of as empowering people to have a choice and make the decision about do they want to be a recruit or not. So you've obviously been in the business for many years. What would you say, based on your experience, separates the people who thrive with high net worth clients from the people who kind of stall or bottom?
Well, the truth is, I don't, that was never my focus. And so my focus
Okay.
was not high net worth clients. I mean, my focus was literally on middle America. So middle America is comprised of 80% of the population that can actually, buy something. And so I just, I never really, now, do I have high net worth clients? Yeah, of course. But that's just simply because of the massive amounts of volume through the years that we've brought in. But we're one of
Hmm.
the only companies that really will sit down with anybody. I mean, if somebody wants to invest $100 a month with me, I'll sit down with them, invest $100 a month with me. So I'm never going to target the high net worth people of the world, because I just think that the amount of them is so much less. And then also, the other reason why that wasn't my focus is just simply because, I came from a place where I didn't come from money. And the neighborhood and the neighborhoods that I grew up in, were not so good. And my mom was a single mom. And I think that I wanted to really make a difference in those communities. And I felt like if I abandoned them and I said, no, I'm just going to see people that are rich, I didn't want to be in that situation. And I'm not saying anybody can, target whatever market they want to target. That's wonderful and it's beautiful. But for me personally, I think it was a little bit more personal for me. I really wanted to make a difference in people's lives, no matter what their background was, no matter where they came from, no matter what their situation was. And that way of thinking allowed me to get into so many markets, and we were able to recruit so many people that were hungry and driven. We say that they have their PhDs, they're poor, hungry, and driven. That was me when I started. I was poor, hungry, and driven. But I wanted to go find those people. I'm looking for those people every single day, those people that are just, maybe they didn't get a college education. Maybe they didn't grow up in the best neighborhood. Maybe they're an immigrant and they are now living legally in America. And now they're like, okay, opportunities are not as good for me. I want to do everything in my power to give those people an opportunity to make millions and millions of dollars. And that's what we've done.
That's amazing. That's really cool. I totally understand about like having something that you care about and like working toward that and trying to empower other people. I'm kind of on that note. I and a friend recently started co-authoring a book basically for people who have just graduated college and are trying to get started in the workforce. And the working title of the book is What College Did Not Teach You About the Corporate World. I would love to get your insights on what were some of the biggest things that you had to learn about the corporate world or about the working world that were really different from the way that you approached things in school.
Well, I mean, I only went to college for a little while. I never really had a corporate job. So I'm just going to kind of set things up like that because I was working little $7 an hour jobs before I actually got into business. So it was right from high school. I was 21 when I started in business. So I never really had a corporate job. The reason why I know corporate America is a nightmare is because I have two dads, my two fathers, when they were in their 50s, they both got laid off from their jobs. And so when I say corporate America is a nightmare, I mean that. Imagine these two men, they spent 10, 20, 30 years dedicating their lives to this company. And then the company,
Yeah.
sorry, don't need you. Bye. Go find another job. That is just not right. That's why I think college is a scam for most jobs in the world, other than being a doctor, an attorney, or engineer. College is a complete waste of time and energy for most people. I believe that because I've, over the last 30 years have interacted with tens of thousands of recruits, if not hundreds of thousands of recruits, actually. And I just, you have no idea how many people are like, yeah, I have a college education and I do this and other. And I'm like, okay, let me see your portfolio. You're 45 years old. They're like, well, we don't have anything. I'm like, what are you talking about? Are you kidding me? You haven't saved any money in 25 years. It's sad that they're not getting the education. College does not teach you the fundamentals to building financial freedom. And they don't do that purposely, by the way. It's 100% because the corporations of the world, they want little worker bees. They want a bunch of little worker bees that work for them and do as they're told. And yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And when we are tired of you at about the age of 50, we're just going to let you go. Sorry, we don't need you. And then what we're going to do, because you're making too much money anyways by 50, now you're making $150 a year. And then so you go, all right, don't need you. We'll hire two for the price of one. This is why I believe college is so overrated for most people.
you come out of it and you have a lot of academic knowledge, but you don't really have much practical real world knowledge. And what I and a bunch of my friends found is that a lot of the mindsets that served us well in college really backfire in the real world because maybe you're taught to be like really asking questions and searching for intellectually rigorous answers and not be comparing notes with your classmates because you all want original ideas. And then you get into the corporate world or the world of business, and it's so much more about being scrappy and finding answers where you can and asking other people what they think and sharing knowledge and not reinventing the wheel, which college, asks you to reinvent the wheel all the time. Otherwise, it's plagiarism. And I'm not saying those things are bad. I'm just saying there are such different ways to succeed in college and succeed in the real world. And you can do awesome in college and then come out and like, what's going on here?
Oh my
I,
God. You are preaching to the choir, young lady. Like without a shadow of a doubt, you got it down. And the reason why is because what you just said right now about college just kind of telling you not to copy off your friends and not to, I mean, let's be honest. If you don't learn AI and chat GBT, you're getting left behind. Everybody's getting left behind. You're going to be slow. You're going to be outdated. You're going to have outdated research. You're not going to be real time. I use ChatGPT to trade now. It pulls up my supply zones and demand zones as I'm trading my options, right? Which I
wow.
trade. But it's like, are you kidding me? It's teaching me stuff all the time. I am way more advanced over the last 2 years that I've been using ChatGPT. My IQ has gone up a significant amount over the last couple of years because of ChatGPT. And what is ChatGPT? It's just complete plagiarism. That's what it is. I mean, all it's doing is
Yeah.
it's just finding information on the internet and giving you that information. It's just allowing me to learn things. Of course, I have my own ideas. Of course, I want to invent things. Of course, I have my own thoughts and my own opinions and ideas. But how do you form opinions? Hopefully, we're all creating our opinions by facts. My uncle said that what I was doing was a scam and it wouldn't work. Well, if he would have just pulled up ChatGPT and said, hey, check out this company, research it, let me look at their numbers, pull up all their investment data, look at the company has no debt, it's worth $10 billion. It's a New York Stock Exchange company. So if he would have just taken 10 seconds to research, he would have been able to have a really meaningful conversation with me about facts, not about what he thought, not about his opinion, but an actual fact. Now, he could have said, well, that's great. It's a great company. I just, it's not for me. Okay, that's fine. That's his own opinion. And everybody has, that's his free will and choice. But for him just to say it wasn't real or it was a scam, he's just ignorant. And that's what the future of technology is doing for all of us. We now know all the facts. I mean, I don't, if we're going to talk about my book today, but I have a new book coming out on October 1st. And it's called Why Most Life Insurance is a Scam and How to Get It Right. And so I expose all of the life insurance scams. And there's a lot of scams out there. And I'll tell you, I've done more research than in my entire life for this book. I have been nonstop making sure every number is right, every fact is right, every citation is right, every bit of research is like 100. And so I'm very proud of it.
Great. And where can people go to pre-order your book or check it out further?
Yeah. So on October 1st, it's going to launch. And so it'll, 12 a.m. on October 1st, it'll be ready on Amazon. It'll be ready to order. So, yeah, everybody can order it on Amazon.
Great.
And all they have to do is just type in Daniel Alonzo, Z-O at the end, and wealth on the beach. So all of my books are Wealth on the Beach, by the way. My first book was Wealth on the Beach, 11 Universal Laws to Building Financial Freedom. And then I have Wealth on the Beach for teens. And then I even have a Wealth on the Beach coloring book for all of you coloring enthusiasts. And then my last book is called Wealth on the Beach, Why Most Life Insurance is a Scam and How to Get It Right.
Great. Yeah. Well, Daniel, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. And I really appreciate you taking the time to be on Sterling Insight.
Well, I'm glad to be here. You're amazing, Katherine. And I'm excited about all the success that you're going to have in your future. And I hope you follow me on Instagram at Daniel Alonzo. It takes a lot of guts to start a podcast. I've interviewed over 300 people on my podcast since 2018. We're on iTunes and Spotify. And of course, we put every podcast interview on YouTube as well. So if you send me the footage here, I'll actually put this on our YouTube channel, give you a little bit of shout out as well. And but yeah, no, I'm very, very excited about what you're gonna do. You sound like a really bright, young, inspiring young lady. And just when your book comes out, make sure you send me a text, and I want to make sure that I can, go get that as well.
Certainly will. Well, thank you, Daniel. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day, Katherine.
All right. Bye bye.